3 days in a row, we are back. And when I left off, I talked about doing tires and the tire barriers, and I did find some plaster that was still good. I made a nice mold. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first things first, I want to get this mold open, so we're going to open it up, and I'll start by zooming in. We're going to open this up, and it's pretty easy to do. We're just going to start peeling here, and you'll see how the silicone releases from the hello from itself. Where there wasn't silicone, where enough grease on the very edges there, it sticks a little bit more, but not really bad. So the big part is going to be getting this whole thing out of the mold the first time, which is always interesting. Okay, all the keys are released. We're going to start pulling the core out, and there's the core. Wow, that's pretty darn cool. There we are. That's really cool. Yeah, there's a little bit of clay there. Interesting. Maybe that's something else, but that is a core. By golly. And so, and then I wanted to show Elliott Brown, the very talented. You think I'm good at doing this kind of stuff? This guy is as good, if not better. He made me an Orion spacecraft for a space station model from 2001, the Hilton, very large scale, built for the San Francisco Museum of Fine Art. And Adam Savage was involved in that, and he did the Orion, and I just love it. The model by itself is just really nice work. So, but just show you, Elliott, this did come away from this very successfully. I know it was an undercut, but you know how it is. You get a feel for something after a while. Now, there's a lot of material I have to remove out of the mold, but basically, I mean, mold release. But basically, we're going to pour resin in this. We're going to close it up like this, and we're going to push, boom, and there you go. And that goes in the pressure pot, and we cook it. And with any luck, we'll get a really nice casting out of it the first time. But this is an extremely successful mold. I'm very, very pleased with it. Very little rocket science here. The mold looks pretty good. I was looking inside of it. There's a few little things I don't like, and it's kind of hard to get all the junk out of the first, to get it clean enough, although it is very clean. You're always going to be a certain amount of material that's still stuck, like some of this primer on here, that's going to come off during your first casting. So don't worry about it, because after that, the first casting will pull everything out. I'm going to take some Johnson & Johnson baby powder. Yes. Some of you will know what that imitation is of who and the Woody Allen movie I'm referring to. And you'll have a good laugh when you finally realize that's what they told me at Masters & Johnson, but I showed them. Yes. If you name that, I'll give you a big pat in the back. So I'm putting the powder on it, the Johnson & Johnson baby powder, because the baby powder actually makes a really good mold release. And but better than that, it allows the resin to flow very evenly into the mold. So now I'm going to be using the pressure pot, and in order to do the pressure pot, I can only show the resin being cast because I have to move very quickly after it's in there and then run the pot. I doubt I can show you that too, but what I'm going to do is put the resin in here. I'm going to pour some down in these channels here. Remember, I have the two little openings here to vent, and I'm going to pour the rest of it here. I'm going to slosh it around really good so we got a nice even coating, because when I just use powder and I slosh cast things, they come out perfect, not one single bubble. So theoretically, doing that, pushing this in, I should have the same results, but just to make sure, it's going in the pressure pot. So, and we're going to put about 30, 40 PSI on it, and that should crush any bubbles that are inside that are trying to give me trouble. So So I'm going to use my resin of choice here, which is really quite good. This is the A, and it's a low viscosity, rapid setting, TC808, and I believe this is a BJB. I get it from Urban's Industries. It's about 100. Well, it's gone up. It's like $140, $150 for this 2-gallon kit with A and the B, and it'll last a long time. And what I like about this resin is it's flexible after you cast it up. It actually has some flex to it, like a styrene model, whereas some of them are quite brittle, as I'm sure some of you are aware of. So I'm going to use my trusty, horrible scale here, zero it out, and I'm going to do 50-50. That's what it works best with. So we're going to, for that, I'm going to do a guess here and say 25 and 25, and that'll give us 50, and it's probably too much. I have a fresh 2-gallon kit, so I'm not really worried about wasting a little bit of this the first time. So actually we'll do 20 and 20, that's 40, and trust me, that will be more than enough. Two, 21, close enough. And then we're going to add the other to it, and then we have to go. So I need to set up over there for that so I don't make a mess. All right, compressor's on, as you can clearly hear. I'm going to add the B to this. Luckily, this mold closes very, very easily. And always stir this stuff very thoroughly, otherwise you'll have an uneven cure. And now the nice thing, especially when it's cold like it is right now, this material goes off very slowly. Now you got like a couple of minutes worth of working time with it compared to other resins. Now I'm going to try to get some down here, trying not to be nervous. There it goes. I see it leaking down in there. That's what I hope for. Because that way we know we've got, now I'm going to put a little more in there, a little more in there, force it down. Because I may get some holes in this post the first time, we'll see. So I'm going to put the rest of this in here, and then I'm going to slosh. Now I got to move. Okay, and then assuming I have this in the right way, I do, I'm going to put the rest in here, let it overflow. And you can see it coming up through the vent holes there. That's closed. That mold is closed, definitely closed. Vents are venting very well, so I'm hoping for the best there. We're going to put this in here. Let's close this thing. Now it's still liquid, so that's a good sign. Close it up. I mean, I stand there sloshing and sloshing this stuff and watching it for the longest time, so I'm hoping. I have a real hard time tightening this down so it doesn't leak. Oh, God darn, that thing's hard to do, especially when you have arthritic hands. Okay, and we're going to hook up the pressure to this and go. All right, so that's been sitting long enough. We're going to let that set, and we'll open it up in a while and see what we get. As you can clearly see, this stuff is not set up all the way. It's still where it's thin. It's still gooey. That's how much working time you have with this resin, which is why I like it so much. Now, where it's been in the pot and it's thicker, of course, the exothermic reaction is greater because of the density of the material. There's simply more mass, more material, and so the heating process goes very quickly, whereas in the thinner areas, you can see it's still really gooey. So that went very well. And now for and now for something completely different. So now for something completely different, we're going to take apart this tire mold I made yesterday. We're going to pull the tires out. And of course, they're not coming out all at once like I had hoped for. I glued them together with CA, which was, I thought, very successful. But they probably have a little bit of mold release on them or something that's causing it to be difficult to get out without. There. 2 more to go. And the mold looks really good. Slowly but surely it's coming out. I just don't want to damage the mold, so I'm being extra cautious. And this is the side that's got the plastic in it. And I'm looking inside and I don't see any problem. So that is our mold. I'll zoom in and we'll take a look inside there. I'm assuming that's focusing. It is. And you can see the tires in there. So what's going to happen to this is we're going to put it in the oven and dry this out. We want to get all the moisture out of the mold, so that way I can have a very dry mold that will absorb the moisture out of the latex, which makes it build up a thickness, and you dump off the excess latex and you let it dry, gel overnight, and in the morning you can pull out a set of tire barriers. And so what I'm going to do is make from that thick casting, I'm going to make a master. And so each time I make a mold on it, I won't have to dig out all the tires that way. The thing will just loosen and pop right out. And that's how I'll be making them, so you can have them on your track. And I'll be able to tint them because I have tints for latex, red, white, and black. What do you say we open this mold? I already pretty much know that I probably didn't get it all the way into the posts, which is not a problem. For a first one, I'll use this, make this body up myself. But what I need to do is use an injector and inject into these after I close it and make sure I got plenty in there. I might be wrong too, because it might all be there. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, I'm going to open this mold. Okay. And you can tell the posts are in there because it's a little harder to take out than with the actual master that was originally in there. So this is where Elliot's going to be really curious to see what happens to those posts and how I get that out. We just want to go slowly. And no, the post filled all the way. I'm amazed. Huh, I'll be darned. Can you see that? Yeah. So, boy, this mold fits really tight. And you can see how this stuff is pretty flexible. It's not real brittle, a bit flexible still, which means I probably should wait a little longer to open this. But being who I am, oh, tea water's ready. I'm going to try running one of these tomorrow without hey. Wow. You see what I mean about that tissue thin stuff? This should have sat in the mold a bit longer, but excuse my nose. Where's my X-Acto blade? Oh, here's a file. As you can see, this stuff just comes right off like that. So as you can see, this body came out very well. I'm very pleased with it for a first run. And so we're going to run more. The next one will be better because the mold will be cured. So, but that's just terrific. That's how we do that. That ends part 3. So you've seen it all. You've seen me make the master. That's a few videos back. And the 3 parts on making the mold. Making the main mold, making the core, and after all that, getting the first product out of the mold. And it's consistent with the thickness. And I am going to pre-primer these for you because I like them to be just as perfect as they can be. So I'll be doing a little bit of sanding, a little cleanup, and so you'll be getting something that's ready to paint. Anyway, the sound of the horn indicates that that ends part 3. I hope you grasp what I showed you about making molds and making a slot car body using this method.